Hello everyone and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets and drama. So I'm back for another Roscoe's recap, and this viewing party was for season 17 episode 9, and the guests this week were Onya, Lexi Love and Ariete. So today we're going to be talking about Onya shading Kori King, Lexi Love reveals an unaired moment between her and Michelle Visage, and why Kori King said that she would have quit the show if a particular thing happened. All that and more coming up in today's video, so let's get started. So they started off with host Naysha Lopez saying that Lexi was looking, quote, exceptionally beautiful, which was obviously a joke because Lexi came in wearing a big blue tarp, and Lexi joked that it was something new that you'd never seen before. The other host, Caramel, mentioned that it was designed by all three of the people on the panel today, because if you remember back to Spray Paint Gate a few episodes ago, it was Onya and Ariete who spray painted on Lexi's outfit, and she confronted Onya about it and they had a huge fight. Naysha said it was a complete coincidence that all three of them were booked at Roscoe's together this week, and Lexi said, quote, "Who believes Naysha?" and people laughed. But the other host, Batty Davis, said that she can vouch for the fact that it was a genuine coincidence that all three of them were there that week. Naysha then asked the queens how their perception of the show has changed since they went from being just fans of the show to now being contestants on the show. Onya said when she watched the show before, she thought she would have more control over her journey on the show, but actually when you get on the show, you realise that you don't have much control beyond the stuff that you bring with you. Lexi said she, quote, held the girls accountable a lot for mistakes that they made, but then after being on the show, she realised that if you don't know the words to a lip sync song, it's not because you were lazy, but it's probably because you were too busy working and didn't have time to learn the song. So Lexi now has a new respect for the queens who go through this experience, and she sees them through a new lens as, quote, warriors. And she said Drag Race is like the Olympics of drag, but it's actually more like a war. But she joked that it's a gay war because it's fabulous. Batty then asked the queens what their biggest challenge was going into the show. Onya explained that for her biggest challenge was making friends with the queens, because at first she couldn't tell if the queens liked her or not, and they were already established friendships. And she thought that the other queens didn't like her, but in the end she came away with a group of amazing sisters. They moved on, and Naysha said that while the show has been airing, we see all the confessionals and the queens are seeing all the things that the other queens never said to their faces, and she asked how that feels and how that's affected their relationships with their sisters. Lexi said it's a, quote, good old time, and the more jabby and harder you make her laugh, the more that she's proud of whoever said it. But if someone makes a bad joke and it's at Lexi's expense, quote, B, you're going to get a phone call later today, and she'll say that that wasn't even funny, but they all encouraged each other to, quote, go for it in the confessionals. Ariete said she had to send Acacia some flowers, and the others asked if she really had to do it, but Ariete clarified that she wanted to do it. Lexi then jokingly said, quote, you did have to do it, and she explained that Acacia was Ariete's champion and bestie, but Ariete had, quote, read the dog bleep out of Acacia all season, and Ariete laughed and agreed, but said that she loves Acacia. They asked if Onya cared about any of the confessional stuff, and Onya said, quote, no, I don't give an F, and everyone laughed. Lexi added, quote, she didn't give an F then, she doesn't give an F now. Onya said they were making TV and half of it was real and half of it was for the TV. Lexi joked that Onya was doing so well in the competition that the others were afraid to talk crap about her anyway. They moved on and they were talking about which challenges the queens thought they would do well in or not, and none of them mentioned Snatch Game, so Naysha asked if any of them felt like they would slay Snatch Game. Onya said she did, and everyone cheered because Onya obviously won Snatch Game as Eddie Murphy. Lexi explained that for her, she spent a lot of time on the makeup for the character of Gilbert Gottfried, and she spent a lot of time on that character because while she never thinks she's going to be the best, she does think that she's decent and is going to do well, so she did really put her all into it, and she really thought the Snatch Game was going to go a lot better for her than it actually did. Lexi then said she had a secret to share, which was that she, quote, made the mistake of saying on a hot mic, "I just hope they don't put me next to Susie." Then, an hour and a half later, they walked into the room to do Snatch Game, and she was seated next to Susie. They moved on, and Naysha brought up Spray Paint Gate from a few episodes ago, and the argument between Lexi, Onya, and Ariete after they accidentally spray painted on her tarp. Naysha said, "From what we saw, everything was very dramatic, but things are often glamorized for TV, but they heard that this situation allegedly lasted a lot longer than what was shown, according to one of the other queens." This is clearly referring to Jules Sparkles, who spilled at a viewing party a few weeks ago that there was a production shutdown for about 3 hours, and the queens had to stop working on their looks during that time. And Acacia Forgot had said while she was at Roscoe's a few weeks ago that the queens were separated and put into different corners of the room. I did mention this in previous Roscoe's recaps, which I'll link to in the description in case you haven't seen them. And so Naysha asked them to elaborate on the situation and how they feel about it now. Lexi explained that because they aren't allowed to have phones on set, you don't know what time it is, and so she has no idea how long it all lasted. But in Lexi's mind, it only took about 20 minutes, and she knows that Jules said that it took hours on end. But Lexi joked that she and Onya are very passionate people and said, quote, "When they got us apart from each other, we were buildings apart and they could still hear each other shouting things like, quote, 'that effing B,' and it just kept going. But they were both very much in their feelings in that moment in time, and yes, they did, quote, 'let that emotion out,' and they gave them that time for them to do that." Naysha then asked Ariete what she was thinking and if she was glad that she was not involved in that, or did she actually play a bigger role than what we saw. Ariete said she was outside listening to it all because you couldn't help but listen because it was, quote, "the loudest screaming." Lexi explained that Ariete just, quote, "doesn't give a bleep and it doesn't matter and she's very chill." Ariete said that when she was outside spray painting, she joked that the screaming was, quote, "background noise." She also explained that she loves to watch the show Bad Girls Club when she's working on things because she loves to, quote, "watch bees argue." For those of you who don't know, Bad Girls Club is an American reality TV show that started in 2006, and it's about a group of so-called bad girls who have to live together in a house, and they frequently have physical fights and altercations, which is what the show became famous for. But back to Roscoe's, and Naysha then asked Onya where she was with the spray paint gate situation. Onya joked that she thought she was on Bad Girls Club, but the spray paint gate situation was, quote, "probably the craziest experience I've ever experienced." And Onya didn't know what was going to happen, which probably has a lot to do with the way that she reacted, and Lexi said that it was the same for her too. Onya just thought that they would give her a new tarp to work on, and then it just happened, and it's, quote, "now the most amazing moment on TV," and they all laughed. Lexi said she loves both Ariete and Onya, and thanked them for ruining her outfit. Naysha brought up that the next day after the fight they all reconciled in the workroom, but she asked if there was still tension. Lexi joked that she was a, quote, "reborn again Christian," but in seriousness, she did a lot of soul searching and she thought about how she would feel about herself when they watched this back, and that's why Lexi said to them, quote, "I refuse to be mad over garbage." But Lexi joked that if they had given her Louis Vuitton bags to cut up and make an outfit instead, she might have reacted differently. But because of the situation, and because she does feel that it was a genuine mistake, she couldn't let herself be mad about it for another day because it was stupid. Naysha said her favourite part of that situation was how Onya reacted, and every time Lexi said anything, Onya just looked down or looked in the other direction and was looking around for, quote, "an answer that only you had." Naysha asked if that was really how it happened. Lexi said that the way it was shown in the episode when Lexi came in and Onya looked at her all, quote, "doughy-eyed," that absolutely did happen in that order, and Lexi was, quote, "gagged." Onya explained that the edit was pretty accurate and she was trying to think about how she was going to deal with the situation, and so when Lexi came in all upset, Onya just felt that it wasn't the right time. They moved on and Lexi shared that the thing that she was most excited for on Drag Race were the runways, because she wanted to show as many runway outfits as possible, and she even had backup outfits for them as well. And Utica from season 13 made a few of Lexi's outfits for Drag Race, including one that did not get used. And Utica was actually in the audience at Roscoe's, although she wasn't on camera, and everyone clapped for Utica. They then watched the runways for this week because it was a design challenge, and they were going through each runway saying if they liked it or not. When they got to Kori King's outfit, some people in the audience cheered, but Naysha said, quote, "Anyone who screamed for Kori, we're not talking about her personality, so calm the F down. That is a 10 across the board, but that outfit, that B is clowning with this show," and everyone laughed. Naysha then joked that last week she asked Kori how much she spent on her runways for this season, and Kori said she spent around $15,000. But Naysha thinks that maybe Kori put the comma in the wrong place and she actually meant $1,500. Lexi also joked and said that actually what happened was, it wasn't a comma in the wrong place, it was supposed to be a decimal point, and Kori only spent $1.50 on her runway package, which Plain Jane donated and then took back, and everyone laughed and cheered. They then moved on, and Caramel said that Untucked was, quote, spicy this season, but what was their favourite moments from Untucked so far? Lexi said her favourite part was when they were all together in Untucked at the beginning of the season, but once the queens started going home and it was whittled down to less queens, Untucked started to become, quote, more awkward or cutthroat or point the finger, and it became a lot more serious. Whereas at the beginning, Untucked was so much fun with all of them there. They moved on, and last week at Roscoe's, Kori had revealed that Lexi had a binder with notes about all of the queens' strengths and weaknesses, and she implied that Lexi was very competitive. So Naysha had asked Lexi to bring the binder with her, so she did, and later on Naysha said that she would read some of the stuff from the binder out loud. Lexi explained that she had 4 binders in total, but only one of them had notes about the other queens. The other 3 binders had information about Lexi, such as her outfits, keepsakes from home, and different tricks and jokes that she would use throughout the competition if she needed to. They watched the judges' critiques for this week, and as we know, Jules Sparkles won the challenge, but they asked the queens who they thought was going to win. Lexi and Arietti said they thought that each other were going to win, and Caramel said that Jules wasn't even on their radar. Lexi then said, quote, "No girl, look at the outfit." Lexi elaborated that Jules was in the top and she did present the outfit well, but Lexi asked the audience if anyone really thought that Jules' look was the most impressive look, because Lexi did not. Lexi joked that Jules was blown away and surprised about winning, and Lexi and Arietti were also very surprised about this. But Lexi then said, quote, "You saw my face, I was peed, honey." Lexi then spilled a secret about an unaired moment that happened on the main stage when she looked annoyed. Apparently, what they didn't show in the episode was that Michelle Visage looked at Lexi during that moment and said, quote, "Lexi, we can see that you're a little upset." Lexi said she just went ding and changed her facial expression from being annoyed to just smiling, and just replied back to Michelle saying no. Presumably because Lexi didn't want to look angry on camera, or maybe she just didn't want to look shady, although this is just a guess and Lexi didn't clarify why. But I just thought this was an interesting unaired moment that Lexi spilled, and I wonder why they didn't show this in the episode, because it sounded like it would have been funny. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. They then watched the lip sync between Kori and Lydia, and Caramel said they had all guessed that it was going to happen, but Cara asked who the queens thought was going to win. Lexi said it's hard because they don't see the queens' faces because they're standing behind them, so they can only see the back of the queens during the lip sync, but she said that Lydia's back was, quote, doing the most work and Kori's was not doing much. Cara mentioned the kiss in the lip sync and asked if they were expecting it. Lexi said no, but Onya said yes, and Lexi shared that that was actually Kori and Lydia's first ever kiss, and it would have been foolish if they didn't do it. Onya then said, quote, but like, that was Kori's whole storyline. And some people in the audience kind of gasped and laughed. Onya then said, quote, "If I came to Drag Race and my whole storyline was about effing a bee, I would personally be disappointed, but hey, I'm not Kori King." And Onya as well as the others laughed, so I assume this was some playful shade. Batty then joked that Kori was not in the group chat, but Lexi said she is in the group chat, Onya just doesn't care. Lexi said she does agree a bit with what Onya was saying, because apparently she went up to Kori at one point and just said, quote, "What are you doing, B?" Because Lexi really thought Kori was going to be a major contender in the season, but it, quote, obviously didn't happen. They then watched Kori's elimination and everyone clapped and cheered for Kori. Afterwards, Naysha said she thinks that Kori and Lydia, quote, shot themselves in the foot by being so open about their relationship on set, because there's no way that they weren't going to make them lip sync against each other. And they did the same thing with Brooklyn Heights and Vanessa Vanjie Mateo on season 10, and also Sugar and Spice on season 15. Naysha asked if the others agreed, and they all said yes. Onya explained that on Drag Race, you have to have a third eye and know what's going to happen before it even happens, and she loves Kori and Lydia's relationship, but she would not have done that herself. Naysha then said that during Untucked, one of the queens had said that Kori was coasting in the competition and asked if the others agreed. Lexi said yes, absolutely, and Kori wasn't just coasting, she was, quote, putting in negative effort, and she just stopped. Arietti said she loves Kori, but she wishes she, quote, put more effort in, because the others were putting in effort, and even if they weren't doing well, at least they were trying, but Kori just never let herself fall. Also, just as a little bit of interesting tea that I saw outside of Roscoe's, Kori recently did an exit interview with Joey Nolfi of Entertainment Weekly, where Kori basically said that she knew she was going home because her outfit was, quote, the fool. Joey asked Kori if the kiss between Lydia and her in the lip sync was planned, but Kori said no, it just happened in the moment. Joey also asked if Kori thought the kiss would save her from elimination, and Kori said, quote, "No, once it was me and Lydia, I did not want to stay at all. I knew how bad Lydia wanted it, and I'd rather have her stay than me. However, if it was me and Onya in the bottom, baby, I'm bucking. Even if I did win, I would have had to find a way to save Lydia. I'd have to bend de la creme myself." And Joey asked Kori whether she really would have quit if she had won the lip sync instead of Lydia, and Kori replied, quote, "Yes, absolutely. I wouldn't be able to send Lydia home, I'd find a way to swap." Joey also brought up that Hormona Lisa had said during her exit interview with Entertainment Weekly that she and Kori do not have the best relationship and they were only acquaintances. And Joey asked why Kori had such a negative reaction to her. Kori said, quote, "Everything I do is heightened, especially on TV, to a magnitude that I find entertaining. The first episode, the way that she, meaning Hormona, walked in, I wasn't a fan of, and being neutral about it isn't entertaining. Everybody thinks I actually hate people. It's never that, it's more that I'm having fun. It's camp. When I said she was annoying, I didn't truly hate her, it was just a bit at that point. Are we best friends? No, but we're cool." And in general, this was an interesting interview with Kori with some fun tea, so make sure you check out the full article in Entertainment Weekly and I'll link to it in the description. But back to Roscoe's, and they moved on, and Naysha showed what was inside Lexi's binder, and there were things such as face charts for makeup, descriptions of outfits, and photos of her garments. Naysha said this must have been a huge amount of work, and it was so impressive that Lexi had put in all that work to create these documents, and it showed that she was taking the competition very seriously, and they all clapped for Lexi. Lexi said she made these binders with the help of her manager, and she also said that Crystal Envy also had a similar binder with information too. Naysha then said that one of the other things in the binder were reads for the reading challenge. Lexi explained that she had written some of these reads before she knew who was going to be on the season, because during the audition process, they asked the queens who they think is going to be on the season. And Lexi didn't know some of the queens, but she had written reads for around 20 to 25 queens just in case they were on the show, and there were 3 options for each queen. Lexi also shared that the only queen she didn't have anything for was Lydia. Naysha then read out one of the reads, which was for Joella, and Lexi explained that the read is based on Kim Chi's song from season 8, No Fats, No Femmes and No Asians. So the read was, quote, no fats, no femmes and no Kim Chi impersonators, presumably inferring that Joella is like Kim Chi. No one really laughed in the audience and there was a bit of an awkward silence, but Lexi acknowledged that it wasn't great. Naysha read another of the reads for Joella, which was, quote, inclusion is the name of the game this season, like Joella. For example, she's gender fluid and body solid. And people gasped and laughed, and Lexi didn't seem to remember having that read in there. But Lexi said all of the queens made fun of her for having the binders with her with all of that information, but she thinks that it was worth it. They moved on to the Q&A and someone asked if Lexi was still working for the bank, which she had talked about in a previous episode. Lexi said that she took a sabbatical for the time that she was filming the show. She then went back to work there for 2 months, but then she left because she didn't have enough time to get ready for Drag Race coming out, so she no longer works there. They then did the audience Q&A, and Utica, who as I mentioned earlier was there in the audience, asked Lexi why she did not wear the pink runway that Utica had made for her. Lexi explained that she wore the black outfit for the quilted runway that Utica made her, but the pink look was too, quote, ethereal, so she had to use one of her backups that was more cutthroat and punk. But she did clarify that she did pay for both looks. There was also a funny moment when Utica said that Onya Nerve had contacted her about making an outfit for Onya for the finale, but Onya apparently ghosted Utica, and when she said that, everyone in the crowd started screaming and laughing. And Onya also laughed and said that she was waiting to see Utica at Roscoe's to discuss it. Lexi also said that they're allowed up to 8 suitcases on Drag Race of £50 each, but the airlines let them bring £100 per suitcase. And so Lexi went over the weight limit and said that she had to pay extra to take it all with her, but due to the rules of the competition, some of her stuff wasn't even allowed to come onto set when she got there because it was too much. Onya then asked what happens with bigger queens because their outfits weigh more. Naysha said the bigger queens get more baggage allowance, and she mentioned that Candy Muse on All Stars 8 told the producers that she needed to bring more because her outfits are bigger. And Naysha said if she knows anyone who knows how to, quote, F with production, it's Candy Muse, because she, quote, tells them what she's going to do, she doesn't ask for permission, and she stands up for herself, and no one ever questions her. Naysha then told a story that for All Stars 8, the premiere of the season happened in a small space with a couple of hundred people, but the queens were told that they were not allowed to bring a +1 such as their partners because there was not enough room, even though other guests at the premiere, such as members of the press, were allowed to have +1s, which the queens felt was messed up. So Naysha, Candy, Monica Beverly Hills and a few others who had had their boyfriends and partners there all grouped together and went to production and said that if that was the case they weren't going to go to the premiere. And they said because they're the stars of the show and they weren't even allowed to bring a +1 to their own premiere, and all of the boyfriends and the partners had flown in on their own for the premiere, so presumably they hadn't been told in advance that they couldn't bring a +1. And apparently multiple queens threatened to just not show up, and Candy got involved and confronted production, and it became a big thing. And within half an hour, production came back to the queens and offered them to bring +1s. Naysha said you've got to remember who the stars of the show are, and the show wouldn't exist without the queens. And Lexi shared that for season 17, they were told that they could bring a +1, but only for the last day of the premiere, and they had to get them there themselves. But for the rest of the premiere, they weren't allowed to have a +1. Naysha said that Paramount and World of Wonder are 2 different entities, and Paramount was always great, and if the queens needed more money for things, Paramount would say yes, but with World of Wonder, it's a different story. So there you go, there was the Roscoe's recap for season 17, episode 9. What was your favourite part of this viewing party? And who do you think is going to win season 17? Let me know in the comments. If you'd like to get early access to my videos as well as have your comments featured in my Have Your Say videos and access to the exclusive Patreon chat, please check out my Patreon because it just costs a few dollars a month. It really helps support my channel and it really does make a huge difference to me being able to make these videos. So please check it out and I'll put a link in the description. And I'd just like to say thank you so much to all of my existing Patreon members. Your support really does blow me away every single time. I love the community I've built on Patreon and I love talking to you all on Patreon. So thank you so much for your continued support. It really does mean more than you know. Please make sure you like and comment on my videos because it really helps boost the video in the algorithm and promote it to more people. And please make sure you hit the subscribe button if you liked this video and you want to see more of them. Thank you for watching and I hope you'll join me again in a future video. Thank you, bye!